So I want to introduce everyone, our prestige author tonight. I read their profile. It's very interesting. That's why I have a lot of interesting questions for them. So first, I want to introduce Andrea. So of course, I want to let you to talk a little bit more. She is the founder and CEO of GEC Risk Advisory LLC, and she has years of experience in the industry and multiple book best-selling author. Yeah, do you want to say a couple of things about?
Of course, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. So I spent about 18 years as a corporate executive in 4 different global companies. And for the last 12 years, I've been my own boss, which has been wonderful. And I do strategic and opportunity advice to executives and boards. I write books. I speak about them. My most recent book is coming out in about 2-3 months now with Georgetown University Press. It's called Governing Pandora. And the subtitle is Leading in the Age of Generative AI and Exponential Technology. And it's all about equipping all of us who are decision makers, executives, board members, et cetera, with the outlook and the preparedness to deal with all the assault of change that's taking place, not only technologically, but obviously there are the geopolitics of this and the sustainability issues that come up. So it's all about equipping us to do this in a responsible way going forward. So I serve on several senior fellow kinds of roles with NYU and with a couple of corporate entities, serve on some boards, and that's it. I grew up in Europe and I came to the US when I was 17, so that's something different about me.
Yeah, that's a long profile, hard for me to memorize, but it's an amazing story. Okay, the next one, I want to introduce Archita, content and AI strategy leader, founder of AstriaWorks, yes. And do you want to share a little bit more about your experience?
Absolutely. First, thank you, C-Suite, and thank you, Serene, for bringing these powerful voices. And we talk about, adopting responsible AI, and that's something that, is very near and dear to me. I have over 2 decades of experience. I started off as a software engineer and a developer, and I still code. I know, I can't help it. But I started my journey creating and implementing platforms and product, and especially in digital transformations. So focus has always been state and local and research in universities who are essentially doing, research on whether it's human subjects, lab animals, making sure ethical and compliance is always at the forefront. So I started AstriaWorks after this 2 decades of my journey because AI is something that everybody just wants to just add AI, and everyone says, I want to implement AI or we need to get AI, right? But the real thing that you need to have is the proper foundation, which is content strategy. You need to have a good foundation so you can enable AI. And that's my goal at AstriaWorks. So we want to, essentially work with organizations to be a trusted partner, so we can bring clarity, we can bring lasting results in all their implementation.
Awesome. So the next speaker is Barbara. So Barbara is a leadership committee chair, Washington, D.C., 50-50 women on boards. Yes. Do you want to introduce a little bit more of your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Serene mentioned, I'm Barbara Shurtleff. I'm cybersecurity exec. I am a CEO and founder of Adodo AI, and we are a cybersecurity firm that specializes in DoD CMMC compliance and AI strategy. So I started this company about 1.5 years ago. It's in the federal contracting space after leaving a defense contractor I was there for almost 30 years. As such, we don't talk about our work too much, so I won't have as much to say. But I too came up in the tech world. I was a network engineer, network operations. I did cybersecurity. I did identity management. I did cloud migrations, and my undergrad degree is in computer science, so I had to learn all the coding there too. I was completely bored with it until generative AI really kind of popped up here latter half of 2022, and I thought this is really cool. So I've been playing around with it. I'm concerned and excited at the same time. It's just the pace of it as it's come out has been extremely eye-opening for sure. But yeah, so that's pretty much me in a nutshell. So, I guess for the boards, you're probably wondering about the board thing. So I've been on a board journey for about 7 years. I belong to the Private Directors Association, National Association of Corporate Directors. There's digital directors networks, a lot of membership director forums. I'm a huge advocate for boardroom diversity. And that is why I do a lot of work with a lot of these different organizations, as well as serving as co-chair in Washington, D.C. for 50/50 Women on Boards. So thank you for having me and us.
Amazing. So these are real voices in the industry. Before I start to ask questions we collected from some of our members and also from our discussion, I want to briefly introduce like how am I get involved with AI and my background a little bit. So I've been doing in education and AI in education for about 15 years, like doing the related research. So my research is focused on how AI can be applied in different scenarios, mostly higher ed and corporate environment. And this year, I just published my book with my co-author over there, Mei Ling. It's about gamification of career development. So all in all, back to my ecosystem, it's an ecosystem of how a student can develop from younger age school and the career, and then now the future, thinking about AI. So back to our question. So right now, many organizations struggle with messy data. And all of you had experience with data. So what strategies do you recommend for building a strong data foundation, especially with the AI feature? Yeah.
I would say first, know your data. Mm-hmm. You got to know your data, what it is and where it is. And I think companies and even individuals struggle with that. You can't manage it, you can't contain it, can't do anything with it if you don't know what it is and where it's at. So.
Anyone else?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think before we talk about strategies and solutions, we should know the gravity of the problem. Okay, so it's, when you say know your data, AI is only going to amplify what you give it. So if you give it chaos, it's going to amplify chaos. So I like always to relate personal stories to the problem. So one such story, I have to kind of mention it because it ties to everything that we do, and I'm sure you guys will relate, is initially when I moved into our first home, my kids were babies. I know we all know Marie Kondo, I'm sure. Everybody's read the book. So I went on an organization spree, and I would say baking supplies to candle making to zip ties, screws, cables, bulbs, you name it. I put them into a lot of boxes, okay? And it was very neat. But then time went by, as life happens to us, and I needed something suddenly. And you all can guess what happened. I had to open every box to figure out where it is. Because over time, context changes. Maybe the utility of one room is now a different room. And so many things change over time. Now take this to a large organization. Right? You said messy and siloed, right? That's pretty much what happens. People come, hands change, people manage things differently. So every implementation I've gone to, if we were talking about strategies and solutions, they say, oh, we need to clean up data. That's just a task. What you need to do is you need to have a proper sit down and understand, where is your content, how is it created? How does it flow through your organization? Where is it going? Who gets to edit it? Who gets to destroy it? Destroy is very important. You can't keep data forever, right? It's expensive. And then my strategy and solution is invest in a good, sound, modern architecture content lifecycle system, because you need it, because you need to have that foundation before you can enable AI. So that would be, I would say, the strategy that you'd want to go through and find a good partner who can do that, because technology's come a long way. There's so many amazing products out there, and they are intuitive, they're scalable, they're secure right out of the box, and they're also cloud agnostic. So whether AWS is your partner or Google or Microsoft, doesn't matter. Find a good willing partner, embark on the project, start small, and scale smart.
That's very helpful.
So these two ladies are engineers, and they're really good at understanding all the sort of moving pieces, and the data piece obviously is a critical part of having good algorithms and software. Oh, sorry about that. So these ladies are engineers, and so they have a very good grasp of some of the nitty-gritty things that need to be done to create the good foundation and the data, and make sure that that what goes in is clean and quality and vetted and properly looked at by the various people that need to look at the information coming in or the information that's being created. So, some of it is purchased, some of it is created. And so one of the big dangers with AI is that we have garbage in, garbage out, right? To make it very simple. But to me, the real way to handle this is going back to the human and saying, okay, who do you have as your engineers in your organization? Who do you have as your lawyers, your financial people, your product people, marketing, et cetera, et cetera? All of that together, you need to have all eyes on the prize here, because if you don't have that interdisciplinary approach to what's coming in the door, what's being played with, and then what's being integrated into your products and services, and then going out the door to your customer, you are missing very important things. And most of my work is at the board level and at the C-suite level, C-suite UITE. There, those people need to, their responsibility is to make sure that the people that are heading up all these different interdisciplinary functions are the right people, and that there's quality control and people who care about integrity and responsibility to stakeholders. So that's kind of my view from a higher big picture standpoint.
Amazing. So I want to ask how many people here in the room are working in finance? Okay. Yeah, I know we have a lot of finance women in the house. So the next question is about finance. So on the finance side, AI brings efficiency, but also risk like errors. I don't know if you guys read the news. So apparently one of the big four, I won't say the name, used AI to generate reports and then got sued, right? Like some kind of issue over there. So the AI actually creates errors, bias, hallucinations. So what are the biggest pitfalls you have seen happened, and how decision makers can or organizations can mitigate them?
Well, I've seen it just in like the crypto space where there's actually been transactions made from highly experienced, intelligent financial folks working in that industry, and that goes back to more about the human aspect of it, because you really need to have those guardrails about being understanding those types of messages that you are getting. Like, why am I getting this message? Does this seem a little weird? Why am I going to do this? So you have to have that reasoning, because the sophistication.
We need to use teacher's voice. Teacher's voice. Yeah.
We need that sophistication, because the AI is just the ability for it to mimic just things that look so authentic is quite alarming. And you just have to have that training for the individuals. So that human aspect of it, again, is quite pivotal for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Finance, obviously, it's a very controlled environment, and I think it lives and dies with traceability. I think traceability is a very important factor. So if you think of it this way, if you can't trace the reasoning, you cannot trust the result. Okay? So you have to have that audit trail, and the way you get it is, it goes back to having those strong governance guardrails we talked about. And also you have to constantly curate the data and update the data so that it's a way to safeguard against bias, against hallucinations. And that's something that those checks and balances have to be put in place so that you can trust what you're looking at and what decisions are coming out. And if the decision comes out and you don't like it, that's where you lose confidence. And that's what everybody is seeing, is because if you're rushing into something without having those guardrails in place, that's what ends up happening.
Or lose $1 billion.
So I would add a little perspective from pre-AI, pre-Gen AI, which is really what's infusing everything now. And that is, if you're a finance person, you've always had to deal with data security. You've had to deal with fraud issues, with cybersecurity. And so now with Gen AI and agentic AI, it's all turbocharged. So you're dealing with the issues that you maybe dealt with before 10 times, 50 times, 100 times. And so again, I always feel like it goes back to the people. Do you have the kinds of people that are going to be taking care of these issues of the data, of the security around the data? You know, the whole cybersecurity space now is assaulted by Gen AI, turbocharged phishing and ransomware and everything else, right? So do you really have the right people, the talent that you need, the people? And right now there's this huge push to fire people, have AI replace some of their roles and skills. And boy, are we going to see the after effects of that at some point. So as CFOs, as finance people who are very much involved with the nitty gritty of the business, put a break on all this firing and sort of getting rid of people, and think about how can you reskill them and repurpose them perhaps. And so I think we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit too fast, I think.
And one thing I wanted to add here is speaking about, there's agentic AI and there's all these things happening, just like when the internet World Wide Web came out, right? So the industry is mobilizing to standardize a lot of this stuff. So when you have agents deployed now, you can't just do anything willy-nilly. So you have to follow a certain, path. So if you don't get that certification, those are the kinds of things that need to come out. And we're going to see a lot of that. Is as a programmer, I can't just build something and just unleash it into the wild. Thankfully, but the thing is, it's happening so rapidly, the change, that people are just developing things and putting it out there. So, and people unknowingly are using without, and then they're going to have their security compromised and things like that. And it gives a lot of power to people, access to technology, but it could be malicious people that are, getting the better of you. And hopefully now industry is seeing this, and I want that standardization to happen. I want that, to have those safeguards so that whoever is using this, the common man's not getting affected by these programs that are out there.
Yeah, those are really helpful, because I think the awareness how AI, especially some simple software we're using right now, the app ChatGPT, many people use ChatGPT to write their email or revise their email, right? But all the personal information you put in there, once you put in and you type send, it's out there. And sometimes people don't really realize that your personal information is out on their internet if you do that. And another thing we did, sort of like an experiment. So basically AI is really good at fabricating stuff and making nonsense sounds very formal, sounds very professional, but it's nonsense. What happened is it can generate a tablet, or it can generate Reddit post by itself and then quote itself. So it seems like, oh, I have quotation somewhere, but the AI generate that themselves. So sometimes it's very, very misleading. And those are the awareness when people need to use it, not just company, but also at personal level, we need to think about it as well. So the next question, since we talk about, so we often hear that AI is here to stay. So it's embedded in a lot of things from process to software. How should the leaders think about adopting AI as a sustainable feature in their business rather than just chasing hype?
Want to take that one first?
Sure. I mean, look around us, right? I would say state, local government, you've got consumer centric companies. They're changing our experience every day, okay? Things are getting enhanced. Our citizen services, customer experience, everything's just getting better. Sometimes they're also trying to catch up because I think consumers are smarter, right? We want more things, right? We want more conveniences, if you will. So it's only going to grow, right? So we know that. Now, as leaders, how we apply it and how we can be responsible for it, because this is a very expensive, if you look at it from a global scale, AI means more data centers. More data centers means more climate impact. Right now, it's a fad. Everybody's like, okay, using it, but it has a cost, and sometimes it's a hidden cost, right? So the way I like to see it is for responsible AI. I mean, think my husband's in transit, so I like to use trains as an example. So AI is like a high-speed train, right? So you've got content and you've got governance. They are your tracks. So if a leader doesn't make sure they have the content and the governance right, it's a very expensive runaway train. So I think that's something that, again, it goes back to a very good sound content strategy. You need to have that.
You want me to jump in? I'll jump in. So I have a lot of thoughts about this since I've just written a 300-page book. But
Time to send out the link for the book.
No, that's fine. But so I think leaders really have to, the leaders meaning the C-suite and the CEO and the board, really have to take responsibility for the overall governance of the organization, which they have, but they have to integrate the whole tech piece in a seamless way by understanding what's going on the front lines with the engineers, the product designers, and everybody else, putting an ethicist in the mix at the inception of the life cycle of the organization, right? And then having that sort of 360 approach to tech governance, then having a culture of responsibility and of ethics, really part of their day-to-day, their value system, their performance incentive, thinking about your stakeholders, your tech stakeholders, the customer, the user, the person on the street who's being surveilled, and then your AI is being derived from that. Think about the impact on those stakeholders and on your reputation if you don't do the right thing. So reputational aspects of that, having good risk management, and then really having that all sort of baked into the strategy. So that's what the leaders need to do. And I will say board members are not up to date, most of them. So there's got to be a lot of radical change in the boardroom, is my opinion. And so all of you who are younger and haven't been on boards before and you have tech savvy, think about how you can serve on a board at some point, because it's really important that we have digital natives and people who are deeply embedded in the engineering and understanding of the technology, as well as others that have already been on boards for a long time. We need to refresh the board to put it in a nice language.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would just say that it kind of goes full circle, right? So companies really need to do a use case on why they want to put AI in and not just throw AI in there for the sake of throwing it in there. I can give you an example of like cable companies out there. They've got these little chat bots, and if you've ever had to interact with them, they're so aggravating, and they go in a loop and they go in a loop because they were so quick to implement this efficient thing, and it's just the stakeholders, the clients, right? They're like, forget this. I can't stand this. Horrible customer service.
Totally agree. I'll be screaming, customer representative. I want to speak to someone, customer representative, right? I think the only chatbot I do like is Travelocities, actually. Because I don't want to talk to anybody. It knows my reservation. I'll say I want to change it or cancel it or whatever, and it just talks to me and it does it right.
They probably had a great use case, and they tested it full circle, right? And they had all the experts.
Well, what their stakeholders wanted. Yeah.
I don't get any kickback from Travelocities. Disclosure, yes.
Amazing. So the next question, let's talk about human experience in AI. Since you guys already talked about we want a human representative. So one gap raised was the need of the real-world business experience to guide AI system. So how can young professionals entering the workforce gain human judgment and then context need through mentoring or in-person learning or other methods so they don't become over-dependent on AI?
Who wants to take this first? That's your topic.
Young people.
Yeah. My topic is topic is human experience.
No, I get it. So I'll use an example that is near and dear to my heart. I'm married to a musician, and my son is a filmmaker. So they're creative people. My father-in-law was a painter. He's no longer with us. So a lot of artists and a lot of creative people, and I like to do a little photography and drawing on the side too. Now, that is uniquely human. However, it's been taken over. It's being taken over by all of these different kinds of AI, whether it's music, bands that are AI bands or music programs that allow you to immediately create a rock, song or whatever. And same for drawing and painting and videos and everything else. And I think we're in a Cambrian explosion moment, I think, where everything and anything is happening. But we really need to become more human and more humane about this, because what makes us human is this creativity that we have and this ability to learn new things and see new things. And technology gives us a lot of wonderful tools, don't get me wrong, and it turbocharges our ability to get things done, etc. But let's think about those creative people, our own children, our grandchildren, our brothers and sisters. We don't want to subjugate creativity, and I'm a little worried about that. And so for our younger people in high school, you deal with a lot of young people. I'm on a board of a theater company that deals with high school students. Give them the creative arts to act, to produce, to write as part of their education, because if everything is going AI, and I'll stop here with one thought, this new push to take phones out of the day in school, I think is really fantastic. And they're showing like really great repercussions from that, where the kids are talking to each other again and this kind of thing. So again, I'll represent the human in the loop.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And in technology, we actually have, that's exactly what we say is human in the loop in all your workflows. I mean, you need to have that. So I think one thing I want to say to all the leaders is, keep the mentorship and whiteboard collaboration that we grew up with and we use, because to your point, having that human judgment and discernment is very critical, right? And AI may be very fast in recall. AI might have super speed and everything, but it's humans who bring reason and empathy. And I think that's very important when we're dealing with this. So my advice to the younger generation is, verify, okay? Check the damn work, because these GPTs and all these other ABCs, they make mistakes, okay? And one could have been a costly mistake. So I've just recently taken up pollinator gardening. So my roses have this pest problem, and I didn't have my glasses. So you know how you have the really fine label on the neem oil or whatever. So I took a picture of it, and I wanted it expanded to larger quantity of gallons of water. So I said, can you just, drill this down? I have 4 gallons of water. How much do I need, or whatever? It made a mistake. Instead of 4 teaspoons, it said 4 tablespoons. And I paused, because had I sprayed all my roses, my lovely David Austin roses, with that amount of, it would have been a problem. So I really worry, because even my young children, they take what ChatGPT says or any other as gospel, and that's a problem. They don't know the difference. So you have to say that. And to young professionals, lean in on, us more experienced people, because we are able to tell technology that, no, you made a mistake, right? So I think that kind of those checks and balances and that curation only humans can bring. So the AI of the future can not be a monster like those those Marvel movies, and yeah, exactly, right. It won't be robots taking over. So we have to push for that.
Yeah. So me and my co-author Mei Ling over there, we also teach class at Columbia. One question our student asks us the most frequent right now is, oh, what you said is different from ChatGPT. Oh, that question get me long pause. So feel like a lot of the professor, teachers, professional are competing or compare with AI, and then we need to tell the young people, okay, critical thinking.
Yes.
Before, it's hard enough to teach them critical thinking, and now they're relying on AI way too much. So that's for all the leaders, no matter you're a young leader or leaders with experience. So thinking about how to critically think the difference between human and AI is still very important. And that's also why C-Suite and EliteLink is trying to build this community. That's where we hug each other, we handshake, and we see each other laugh, rather than I just ask Diane a question. Oh, what was the finance? How is everything investment going? And then she gave me a very long, brief. So that's the difference. So the human connection and where we hear and drinking wine together and talking about AI, that's what makes it fun. So
It's funny she said drinking wine. I was going to say we have to use AI in moderation.
Okay, so the next question. So every technology comes with trade-off. What are the most underappreciated benefits of AI you have seen? And on the flip side, what are the hidden downsides? Some of them we already talked about. So the leaders should be prepared.
I think you should go because I think you missed the last question. I didn't hear it.
Well, I agreed with all of that. I say underappreciated uses of AI is in the medical field. And when I say the medical field, a lot of people think doctors are, hey, my ear hurts. What's the problem? I'm thinking more of diagnosis of tests and markers and being able just to slam through all of that data and be able to come up with things of what this may be or what further tests should be done, and even come up with cures for some of these cancers. I truly believe that the ability is there. Why it's not out, I have my own takes on that too. But I think that's one area that's yes,
a very
exactly.
and that's a very human thing. Is like it needs to reach everybody, right?
Exactly.
And I do feel there's that unreachable factor of.
There's definitely a divide that goes on.
So I would say I'd go with the underappreciated. I would say operational intelligence, because no matter, like, we're all busy professionals, we're running organizations, businesses, maybe a leader's running a big engineering team. So there's so much information. So what I have found where it really helps is actually two things. I would say I would touch two things. One underappreciated is operational intelligence, where you're catching patterns. And there's things that I was like, even I didn't know that I could use as leverage from my own, where AI points out, because it's seeing patterns that I may not see, right? So I've found that to be useful. And that pattern recognition can happen in many, many different ways and fields. It depends on what data you're giving it. The other thing I would say is accessibility. What I love, and it's almost like democratizing knowledge. And knowledge is power. And everybody now can have access to knowledge. And that's just extremely, powerful, because people in rural areas and people now with the devices they have, they're able to access education. They're able to access, getting help on some subject matter or learning something. So self-learning, how much ever we say that, be careful of AI, there's a lot of self-learning that happens, because when you ask it a question and you say, okay, that's the answer. Okay, let me see what the follow-up, question is. So you are actually expanding on your own knowledge. So as long as you do it within parameters and you don't go cuckoo over things, I think that's underappreciated And then you said garbage in, garbage out. That's a pitfall, right? That's a very big pitfall, what you feed it. So I would say that would be the main pitfall in mine, which again leads to loss of confidence.
Sure. Yeah. So for me, echoing what you just said, I actually would not have been able to write my most recent book without the help of Perplexity and ChatGPT at the time. I started with ChatGPT just to research what are exponential technologies. And I went into a very long sort of rabbit holes of different kinds of technology and trying to figure out, okay, what are we really talking about here? And I categorized it into 5 buckets, one of them being Gen AI. And without ChatGPT, but especially Perplexity, because a friend of mine who's deep in AI, she said, check out Perplexity, because I was concerned that I wasn't getting the sources that I needed to double check and triple check, right? And so Perplexity was doing that before ChatGPT did it and others. And so that became a huge research assistant for me in doing the work that I was doing. And so to me, that's a little underappreciated in a sense that I think it helps us with our human skills to become even better humans. But the danger is that we become too dependent on it and we stop thinking. And so for me, that's a really, really important part of education and young people. They do have to develop those critical thinking skills and at the same time use the tools, and the rest of us as well. So that's my underappreciated. What's overappreciated or is too out of control is the slop that we're getting in the creative arts. And I hope we become more discerning at some point. So that would...
Yeah, you don't know what's human created and what's AI created. It's so hard to find out the difference. And then you read it and you see, and then you're like, damn, I fell for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, you get so mad.
You see new actors that are not really...
Exactly, they're not even real.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing AI sort of helped me a lot is I sort of using AI build an assistant, personal assistant for myself. So if you guys use Chrome or even ChatGPT has a lot of plugin, for example, you can use it to find the cheapest hotel room or flight ticket available during that specific time. I also use AI to book all my reservations for some hardest to get in restaurant in New York. So it actually works. So that's some really good use case. But on the downside is especially like I see companies, some people using AI written email against other people's AI write long emails. So basically no human real talking. It's all proofread by AIs. And I just feel like you don't have to write that long email using cloud versus ChatGPT, right? We can just talk directly. So that's something.
Well, yes, related to that, I have a confession, Diane. When I got your email, I did a voice to text and it spelled your name wrong. So you have 2 N's and not 1 N. So yeah, that's another thing to be careful of is, when you're on the go and you're using voice to text.
Yeah, and I would just add on, because like you were using the different tools, because I use different tools myself, Perplexity, definitely for research and such. But there's so many tools coming out that's not the real deal. It's sticking to one that you really like, that you really trust, and working with it, getting to know it, and then you can start adding on to it, and then use it as a first draft. You can't expect or even rely on this thing to give you a finished product, nor should you. Use it as a first draft, right? That blank page that you just can't get anything. Use that. Use your critical thinking skills. Or otherwise, they're going to go away. Like those neural paths, if you're not using them, they're going to go away.
Add to what you just said, which I did also, when I had my finished first draft, I sent it to experts in the field.
Yes.
I sent it to a biotech guy and an advanced materials person and so on, so that I had real experts looking at what I had put together to make sure it wasn't completely crazy.
It's a good peer review.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very good.
So there's a little saying I came up with at the end of my book, which is, those of you who are not old enough to remember, but you might know that there's that Reagan saying when he was negotiating with the Soviet Union, trust but verify. I say verify, then trust.
Yes.
So I think that's really the way we need to go about all of this. Don't just take it in, you know?
Really good point. Yeah.